I'm Donna Sims. And this is my daughter, Megan James Kennedy. And we're thrilled to be here, and we're thrilled to have you all here. And hopefully, we'll answer some questions and give you guys some good advice and information tonight. We've got a bunch of questions. Like, thank you for those of you who sent questions. Some of them I'm really glad we have ahead of time because there's pretty
Very
like deep questions.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I'm glad I have time to think about this. But if you have questions, if you come up with questions, put them in the chat and Michelle let us know. And the first thing before we get started, for those of you who stay with us to the end of our webinar today, we have a special gift for you at the end. So those of you that stay on, we will announce that at the end. Question number one.
What can I work on at home off of stock to get the dog ready for herding?
Fabulous question. We feel, and as our training program is evolving, that the work off of stock is key. It's key to everything. It's that relationship building. It's that the dog learning to have impulse control, crate games, playing crate games with your dogs, them learning thresholds, that I wait at a threshold until I'm invited through, and I don't wait like this and at any minute I'm busting through, but I wait calmly and relaxed and patiently until I'm invited in. Building that relationship and those skills with your dog, it just makes all the difference when you come to herding and your dog is in the highest state of arousal that it can be. For most of the herding dogs, stock is creates the highest state of arousal.
Chasing bunny rabbits.
That would probably be right up there. But that is the highest state of arousal. And so when we try to train in that state and teach the dog in that state, it's just an exercise in utility. So doing those skills at home, what are some things you think of to work on?
Well, the place, lots of place
yes.
work, because that works on the impulse control. Being able to work anything you create. If there's a heightened situation where you have your dog having impulse control outside of the situation, it's going to help you on stock.
Absolutely. Having dogs running in the yard, working on your recalls. Oh my gosh, dogs have to come. They have to stop something fun and exciting and come to you the minute they hear you call. Like, that's where it has to get to. It starts, of course, with just the baby dog stuff. And we do have some courses right now. Building Connection, Groundwork 1 are all off of stock. But we are also working on some mini courses that we're coming up with that are going to develop really solid off stock skills. That's going to just help tremendously. But building that recall to the point to where if your dog is wrestling or playing with the other dogs or doing something that's super, super exciting, and you say, come, they train that, because that's what you're going to get on stock. They're going to be doing the funnest thing that they get to do in their life. And then we're going to say, hey, I need you to come here. And they're going to be like, talk to the bra because this is really fun. So you have to build it to that place, that off of stock, that you get that excitement, you get that sense of, they're all in, and they're super excited. We've done classes where we worked outside of dog parks,
Not inside.
Yeah,
Don't go inside.
Don't go inside dog parks. We don't like that. But outside of the dog park, where you can work along and dogs running, right? That is a really heightened environment.
Feeding time can also be a really point of escalation for dogs. And being able to get, for my dogs, I try to ask for different behaviors where they have to listen to the word, because when they're eating, when they are expecting food, they're very excited, and I think that helps too.
That's great, right? Because when they're in that state of arousal, they're not listening, right? They have to learn to listen to receive information, and that's what happens on stock. Is you get on stock and start working, and the dog is in such a heightened state of arousal that they can't know, people get upset, my dog knows this stuff, but they can't even hear you. They can't receive that information that, oh, down, I have no idea what that means. They can't receive the word to even process in their head what that means. So, you know, any kind of situations you can get them in, working your skills simple. You know, we always teach everything in the kitchen, in the living room, some in the bathroom, someplace really quiet, really calm. We never want to learn new skills in excited environments, but then gradually build that to where you have those goals set.
For 2, what is the best stock to start a novice team on?
Okay, great question. And different people use different stock. We actually love our goats.
For sure.
Yeah, they've been a game changer for us.
The needs have been very happy to have goats.
Yes, the needs have been very happy. The key is you need really calm stock that's not going to react to the green dog and the green dog instincts. So whether that's goats, I mean, even goats can be reactive if they're not dog broke, if they're not accustomed to being worked. But the nice thing about the goats is that they don't run into you like the sheep. Heavier dog broke sheep are great, but they feel hard on the body. And they will run into you if they're being chased by a dog, and that can be a dangerous situation. So usually ducks, geese, those sort of things aren't ideal for starting.
They're not as reliable.
They're not reliable.
You can't count on them to have the same reaction. And if a dog does something, or I feel like sheep goats, if you know your stock, you can count on them.
And the geese and ducks don't get to the point where they see the person as safety. So the goats and sheep will give that way. If I see the person as safety, I want to be with the person. Now, if I can depend on the stock to want to stay with me, now I can focus on working the dog. So then I can create what I want. If I can't depend on the stock to stay with me and I'm trying to, put pressure on the dog, get him to do something, the stock's running off, it just goes back. But with that said, we have known people who, we've got students who only have geese, so that's what they have to work on. We've got a gal right now that has one of our young dogs that has had neck surgery, and so she can't work the sheep. She works geese, and her young dog is doing beautiful, and she's doing a great job with it. She has some really nice geese that are very settled and don't overreact, and it's going really well. So the key is that it's not settled. They're accustomed to being worked, and that they're depend on kind of how they're making.
You ideally don't want to use cattle just because you have to worry about the dog getting injured or you getting injured. And sometimes you can get real tense.
That's a good point. Yes. We don't start dogs on cattle until we have at least a certain skill set, right? Enough control that we know that we're going to be able to control that dog. It's not going to get too out of hand just for safety. Perfect. All right, what's next?
How can you build a functional working dog where your stock isn't dog broke, you don't have a lot of working experience, and your dog isn't grippy, intense breeding?
This one, I had the phone. Oh wow. Okay. Okay. We'll just start by saying, okay, really, herding training is harder than anything else you will do because we have to set it up. We have to set up the environment so that the dog can be successful and can learn what we want. When we're working with animals that were, the sheep, the goats, whatever, the animals that we're working, everything's moving, everything's changing. It's really, really challenging. And it would be like doing agility, for those of you who do agility, and you're running an agility course, but the tunnel and the contacts and the jumps are like moving all around as you go, and you're like,
your dog wants to bite them.
Oh no, yeah, and your dog wants to bite them. That's what makes it difficult. If you, especially if you are a novice and you have a green dog, like that is the hardest scenario. and it's the most challenging. So we have to somehow set up our environment where some things are dependable. Okay. As a novice handler, I'm not going to be dependable because I don't know enough yet to be dependable. My, what did it say? High intensity.
It's that repeat intense breed.
Repeat intense dog. And it's not going to be dependable, right? They're going to be dependable to do things I don't want. So something has to be dependable. First thing I would do is invest in some really good dog rope stock, whatever that is, sheep, goats, whatever.
Yeah, how far did you and Dad drive to get the goats?
Yes.
Find a hope.
Yes,
Sometimes you gotta drive.
a long ways. Like that, it's an invaluable investment. Okay, it is. We'll never regret it. Get three head of the stock. Start there. The other thing is do with the high drive, with the really intense dogs, you've got to do a ton of off stock impulse control, and not just impulse control, but off stock learning to adjust your dog's arousal and get their arousal down and get them to a place where they are calm and quiet and relaxed in an environment that is exciting. That's super important because you have to be able to get that brain down to be able to then have them be able to shape and do what you want and to have success. And if dogs don't have success, it's very demoralizing. It's very demotivating to not have success. For the handler too, the novice person out there trying to manage all of these challenging aspects, it can be very frustrating. And then we are not handling things the way maybe that we would like to. And that is just a recipe for failure. And we don't want us to fail and we don't want the dogs to fail. So making sure that you have to get really creative sometimes, you know, you have to think outside the box and find ways to set things up where it is controlled and your dog can have success.
And smaller spaces too. You can build smaller spaces. That's gonna help a lot.
And you always can, right? I know it's like, oh, I can't because I have this or I have that. But if you have a pasture, you have a corner. You know, so put a little fence up here in that corner and make a small space. Like try to find ways where you can use what you already have, and it doesn't have to be a big elaborate setup like we have. It can be just one more square meter, right? And that's where you start and accomplish a lot.
What are some of the most common issues when starting out? Potential ways to work on them. Where do we start?
I'll never forget my first herding lesson. I was so excited. I had my little Aussie. I was like, this is gonna be great. We're 6 months old.
I do not remember.
No, you wouldn't. Like dad was holding me for a little baby, maybe 8 months. And I was so excited. My husband was me, you know, taking our little Aussie and go do this. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna learn herding. Go to the scout. She puts me in this round pen with these 3 sheep. My dog, and it was insane. It was chaos. I mean, the dogs chasing the sheep are everywhere. The gal's saying, no, go to your right, go to your left, back up, there. I'm like, it was horrible. It was just horrible. And I left there, and my husband and I'm like, I don't know. But if it is, I don't want to do this because like this was not fun. I was overstrained. That's what we did professionally. And like I knew about training animals, and this is not what I had envisioned when I went. So, and I think it just feels like that a lot of times at first. Sure, people will be like, it feels like chaos. And it kind of is, which is why we have, we're working so hard on these courses, these classes,
Breaking things down.
yes. So for us, you know, we want people to struggle and us struggle, try to get the dogs to do something good and finding us having to go out and work the dog to help it get to a good place. So the person gets stuck in and work it. And, all of our cross training or other things that we do, making goods, rally and the chili.
You should rally.
I do rally.
Yes.
I
You
dabble.
said working.
I dabble in it. I do a lot of, both stuff.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of foundation training with my dogs, a lot
That she's very, very good at.
of obedience and things like that. I don't coach a lot in most roles. But I love the training. The training I could train dogs all day long. So as the more we do of that and break it down in little pieces, right? We're like, okay, how do we do that with herding to help people? Like people are
And dogs.
and dogs. And dogs, yes,
For the clarity for the dogs.
for sure. But watching people out there struggle, watching dogs struggle. And so that was the heart of starting all this, breaking it down and go, how can we break it down into pieces that are very manageable and very doable? And we don't want it all to be about mechanics. The courses are about giving you guys ready to teach mechanics, right? Because that's what it's all about. But within that, we want to make sure dogs are allowed to work instinctually. That's super important. That they get to think, they get to work, because they get frustrated if they don't. And why do this? Like, that's why we do this. Dogs, herding dogs are brilliant and they know all this stuff. So breaking it down in a way that we can show them what we want so that we can have the control we need, we can get the calmness we need. It's better for the stock, but then we can also at that point allow the dogs to work, right? Then we can allow.
It's not chaos.
Right.
Yes.
When your dog's just chasing,
Which is a common problem.
it's a common problem. And it's okay. I heard people say, oh, that's chase, it's not work. And there is a difference. But absolutely there's a difference. But a lot of dogs that turn out to be fabulous working dogs choose at first. Like they get out there, they're excited, sheep run,
Very dry.
it's what they, right? That's not a bad thing. You shape that into what you want. But when we get to that place where we've got the dog to the point where we can get their arousal down, get them settled, and we can have enough control on them that we can say, oh, that sheep ran off, and we can let them go get it. We don't have to be yelling, screaming, or doing anything if it's not chasing it down there. It's calm and settled, and it's going to go down and think and figure out how to bring it back. So by breaking down the pieces and getting these layers in, getting that enough control where the dog is settled and you're confident that you control it, then you can allow it to work, and it just frees everything up. It makes everything.
I bet it takes some of the common problems you have when you start to completely away. The diving and gripping, the chasing, the people panicking, the socks gonna get hurt. And really all the small steps it changes the mindset of the dog and it becomes calmer and more calm.
Yeah. And that is a great point. Like when you start this way, you actually don't have a lot of issues that we have initially. And then also your dog's not learning a lot of really bad habits.
Then you have to go back and fix.
Yes. Like when that was happening, they're learning really bad habits. The problem with herding, training herding, is that anything else we do, it's very easy to withhold the reward, right? The dog doesn't do it, withhold the reward. Sorry, you don't get the reward. The dog's like, okay, I'm gonna do it right this time because I really want the reward. So in herding, if your dog breaks the start and goes running down and dives through the stock, it just got a huge reinforcement for breaking the start. So it's really challenging to withhold the reward, which is what makes it so challenging to teach. But by doing the steps that we do on, I feel like it enables us to withhold the reward, make sure they get rewarded when they should, and then build on that and developing a dog that that doesn't develop your training in a way that doesn't develop those bad habits because you can't keep them happening. But that's the biggest thing.
What tips and modifications for working with super high drive dogs? We kind of covered that a couple of questions up. You can add to them.
I do. Um, high drive dogs are a challenge. Uh, a lot of the big power breeds can be a real challenge because they have a big energy and they have a big presence, and
Stock is terrified of them.
the stock is terrified of them, and
Because they have a big presence.
right. And then the person is worried because now the stock's running, the dog's chasing, the dog's gonna hurt the stock. Like that's not good. Our job is to make sure we're using stock for our stories. I personally wouldn't own sheep if I did.
Or ducks. Or geese. Maybe goats.
And maybe those and cows.
Cows.
I like cows. But the rest of the stuff I wouldn't, right? They're a tool that we have to train dogs, but they're a living animal. Like it's our job to make sure that they don't feel terrified, that they're not fearing for their lives while they're out there, that they're not feeling threatened, getting harmed, right? That's not okay. So that is super important. So two things. One is that I really think it's a great idea to muscle train powerful dogs that you're worried about them gripping too much. We don't want to take grip out of the dog. So those dogs that start out real bitey, if we overdo correcting that and tell them they can't bite, then down the road, if you're working cattle or you have something that really challenges them, the bite is a tool. It's a tool they use to work stock. So we don't want to take it away, but we can.
You just need to teach them when it's appropriate.
Yes, yeah. And make it a tool we have that it has command, right? Or if it doesn't have command, if the cow's coming at them, they bite it, but they bite it and then they back off and settle. It's the animal response. Okay. So muzzle training, and of course, you don't just put a muzzle on and go out and start working because it's just going to bug them and they're going to take it off. And it's just not going to work. But spending a lot of time off of stock muscle training, getting them really comfortable, then we can relax, right? It just takes, we're not like, oh, he's going to bite it any minute. Because as soon as we go out there with that energy, what does your dog do? Oh, something's wrong, I'm going to bite it, okay? Create what you believe. If you think, oh my gosh, my dog's going to bite that sheep, your dog bites that sheep. That's just how it works. So if we can relax a little bit, and the muzzle takes that away. It takes away the fact that the dog can actually hurt the animal. And so then we go, okay, now I can relax. I can train with it. So I think that's an awesome tool for dogs that are really fighting. Michelle also, I should mention this, she's brilliant. She's brilliant. I did not think of this. We did not think of it. She did. Her one dog, when it feels pressure back on it, would eat real bad, which is common. It's earlier on in behavior. And then, of course, if you get after them or put more pressure on them, now they do it more. Like it doesn't help the situation. And if you're like, get them, and get them in, then she would dive in, but she would get too amped up. So, it was just a real challenge. And so one day she comes, I put a muzzle on her, and it's made all the difference because now she can't do she could have been so that she doesn't. It was awesome. And it just took that away without fighting or correcting or having to be negative about it. There was just no emotion. No emotion. And no reward. Like it didn't get reinforced because there was no sheep to eat. And she's at a place now, like she still works through some with the muzzle, but then she's working out without the muzzle and the behavior is almost non-existent.
And we've used that tool for other dogs.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, ran.
So yeah, that would be one thing. And then the other one was about doing a lot of like we talked about the first situations, getting that dog's arousal down in situations off of stock, or even sitting out watching other people work, or just being outside the tents of the stock, but getting those skills, developing skills, where you can get that dog's arousal down and get it to a place where it can just calmly lay there and watch other dogs work. if they're really intense in other what they do, um, you're gonna have to work to create exercises or things that you do that you specifically work on that one side. Because obviously, if you're in agility, you want them to have that more excitement, but you'll have to work to find
Perfect. All right, our next question is, what are some different ways of working with the off breeds with lucite breeds?
So we love this. Great question. We love those breeds like that. And nothing against the border collie. I train a lot of border collies, and there's nothing like working with a border collie. I will tell you that. The precision that you can have with them, and it is just awesome. They're amazing what they can do. But they've been bred for thousands of years for a simple purpose. They are bred to cast. They're bred to get out really wide. So getting them out, which is what we need, right? The distance. I always say distance and stops are everything. Border collies want to get out. They're like, oh, this feels good to me. Stopping, they kind of, a lot of them come, not all of them, but a lot of them come pre-programmed to down. So they're fun, they're awesome, they're amazing. But the lucite breeds are very, very different to work with. One of the things that we really consciously try to do in our videos and our training sessions is show as many different breeds as possible.
Because lucky for us, we have access to lots of them. We train a lot of different breeds.
We do. And having to show, okay, this may be the exercises that look all these different breeds can do it. And they can do it really well. Like border collies aren't better than the lucite breeds. The lucite breeds aren't better than the border collies. They're just different.
And the lucite breeds are all different within each other also. Like I feel like each breed has its own working style and differences.
Absolutely, for sure. And I think it's important to research your breed, understand your breed, where it comes from, what was its intended purpose. German Shepherds are a great one, and I have read that I have read something on them. They were talking about because so a rib is a genetic thing. In our Aussies, they are supposed to be genetically programmed to hit head or heel.
And I think most breeds are that way, head and heel.
And that's for working cattle, right? Well, when I was reading this, shepherds, they were saying, so they're bred, they're a fence, right? Or they're a border dog, which makes them want to just move and move and never stop moving. They don't want to stop moving. Flank stop, walk up straight. That's really difficult for them. They were big woolly sheep. Okay, so sheep are covered in wool, thick wool, except for their face and except for their legs. So when a sheep would come out of the graves, who was not what it's supposed to, their way to discipline them would be to go up over the back, and over the neck, and rib. And they were supposed to do that. Well, when we see that, it's when we put our little haired sheep out there and they're chewing at our goats, our little goats that we love so much. Like it looks like the German Shepherd's trying to kill the sheep. That's their genetics telling them to do that. That's their instinct telling them to do that. And it's what they were supposed to do for what they were. Now it's not appropriate, obviously, for what we were and what we do with them. And the amazing thing about these dogs is they can all learn all of this crazy trialing stuff that we do. That is really so
such a game.
And so it conflicts so much with what their natural style is a lot of times. But they're dogs, they're amazing. They want to work with us, they want to be a partner, they learn what we need and what we want, they do. So understanding your breed and what they were bred for is super important so that you can see a behavior and go, oh, I understand that behavior. Because when we understand the behavior and where it comes from, how we address it and how we approach it, it's vastly different than if we, oh, he's trying, he's a killer, he's trying to break that sheep's neck. It's a completely different place that you're coming from. So I think that it's really important that we understand them and that we understand that as we're going into our training. And I also think that it's working with a trainer, for a trainer, finding a trainer that truly does understand your breed and has worked with either your breed or similar breed is really important. Because if you don't understand that breed, you can train it, but you can't understand where the behaviors are coming from, and you can't really maybe train it to its potential unless you understand why they do what they do and also the things I need to allow. So I'm much more lenient, like on a German Shepherd. I don't crank them back. I do make them line up a block, but I'm not so. I leave it looser. I leave a lot of things I breed a little looser in their work. I can still get the precision within that, but that makes them feel good. It makes them happy. And, if we're trying to, take this breed and turn it into working like this breed, it's going to be very motivating.
It's going to take away instinct also.
Yeah. I can't believe what their instincts say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because their instincts don't say to do that. So then if that's all we make them do, they're like, okay, well, I guess this is what I do. I don't know why, but this is what I do.
And I think breaking things down too for the side breeds really helps. I also think a lot of times working bigger groups makes more sense.
For sure. Huge, large groups of stock, the side breed. All breeds that I work with, I like to large groups. But the loose side breeds are like, yeah, this makes sense to me because these, I don't know any of the side breeds that really weren't used for large groups. I think pretty much all of them, especially your tended breeds, that helps them tremendously.
And new jobs, not the loose side breeds, pen work, farm work, that type of stuff. It makes sense and a lot more of what they were writing for. Sure. Yeah. Right.
I think that's it, no doubt.
When do you make the move from building connection and groundwork into actually working a young dog? That's a good one.
That is a good one. That's some great questions. It made us think. Okay, so
Fluency.
then
Things are
and to be honest, we actually work our young dog just in flow work on stock while we're doing a lot of the groundwork stuff. Like we do those things side by side. If you're a novice handler, don't recommend you do that. Make it right. When your behaviors become fluent and they're dependable
in multiple situations.
in excitable situations, right?
Don't generalize well.
Yes, then you're ready. And the thing is, the way we've kind of got things broken down, you can really start a lot of of course, all the groundwork stuff. But then even like starting your dog on stock, the early videos, you can do those even before the dogs have solid features, a lot of the stuff in there, because they're on a line and they're controlling them. They have to understand the pull and pressure, the object pressure, but there you can start a lot of that stuff. But as far as actually working that, we like to do it as early as possible, but we can get our young dogs to the behaviors we want. We have that timing and the ability to do that. But if you do not, then working those skills, those early skills. So building relationship, but then also, you roll right into groundwork 1, groundwork 2, because they have a lot of skills that are off stock or around stock. Stock is in the pen. You're in the pen, but you're on a line. Yeah, working the stock. And then when we do start off, we do flow, just flow work. We don't expect our 6-month-old puppies to lie down and know their directions. And we just don't do that. We want to make sure that they get to grow up and make sure you can push these young dogs way, especially if they take it, the ones that take pressure well, that are super keen. It's so easy to push them too hard, too fast.
You don't know you're doing it
You don't
until you hit a wall.
until they blow up.
Yes.
Right, they blow up. And then you create all kinds of problems. You don't want to do that. Take that time. The more time you spend on the off stuff, the easier the on stuff will become.
And our early stuff while we're actually working stock is flow work, pushing them out, pushing them around. So we're expecting them to move off of our pole, not dive in and grit, but within that, they're finding their instincts and balancing to us. We're not telling them where to be on the bubble and all of that. So they're developing their instincts. And then over here, we're working them in our groundwork stuff and teaching them the skills so that as we go, kind of turn the two together.
Exactly. Like, right. So like when you get to that point of asking for the down or asking for the stop or getting out or whatever, if you have that skill off of size and you've got the understanding of moving off the pole and moving off of our pressure on stock, and you just kind of marry the two and it becomes easy. You know, I mean, Sammy, the first time I ever asked her to down on stock, she just laid down. And it was really cool but I waited until the right situation where I knew, I was in the corner, the stock was stuck, she found balance, she stopped herself, she looked at me, and I knew she would lie down. And she was calm, and I said, lie down, and she lay down. Good girl. So it was easy. It wasn't a fight, it wasn't a struggle. I'm not yelling down, she's trying to get around me to get to the stock.
It wasn't super mechanical either. We allowed her to use her instincts, find balance. She stopped on her own.
Right, excellent point. Right. So the dog controls the stock first, then we control the dog. So let that dog be instinctual, like her finding balance, stopping herself. Then that makes sense to her instinct. So then I asked her down where she instinctually felt like stopping. It's not where I randomly wanted her to stop in a place that didn't make sense to her instincts. So then that would have made fighting. It would make her go, I don't want to lie down because I don't feel like I can stop. It's hard. It's a lot. And like I did say, we are coming up with some other mini courses to work more on developing the skills off of stock that I think are going to help. We're doing one on developing a moving stock, off of stock. I think that's going to help a lot. But some other things that are going to really build those off stock skills and just make that transition so much easier.
All right. How do you build stock drive if they are distractible or not?
So you can really do a lot to build a dog. If the dog is unconfident or sometimes we have dogs that are just warriors, right? I don't know, I kind of want to chase it, and okay, I might get in trouble, it's not right. I guess that's a problem.
Well, and sometimes the dogs that care more about what you think than some dogs just do. Like, oh, she'll get over it. Other dogs don't want to make them if they don't know that it's going to make them happy. Setting those dogs tight.
So we have a lot of exercises. We actually do have a course planned. It'll be a while. It's down the list on building those dogs out. There's exercises we do. Like I like to have a big group of stock in and take them, and I have the dog go in and take it out, and they go out, and I just let the dog go get them, even if it's not pretty. Like even if they go through the middle and it's just, and then they bring them around and they go back in the pen, and I go in and take them out, and they go get them, and just kind of go back and forth. That's a really great one. Large flock work really builds and engages dogs.
Different stock you would try.
Yes.
Stocks will trigger or goats will trigger differently.
We find a lot of the dogs that are not as confident. We put them on geese, and the geese like really get them excited. So you have to find what creates forward energy for that dog. There's nowhere to train hurry without using pressure. Like you it's just not possible. I mean, maybe it is possible. We don't have it. If someone figures it out, let us know. But we use pressure. We don't use force and intimidation. We use pressure. There's a big difference. But in order to put pressure on the dog has to be putting pressure on the stock, right? So without their forward energy to the stock, we can't put pressure to shape what we want. So we have to have that. That takes priority over everything. If I've got a dog that doesn't have forward energy to the stock, we don't train the skills. You can't train skills. You have to have that to train skills. So creating that, one of the things we'll do is have a dog on a long line and, help them to go around. And then like if they go to disengage, we've got that line and we hold them more in, watch them, get them to engage.
Rewarding, like when they do that, then you could toss a cookie if they're food motivated. Sometimes eating the treats will help them get out of their head and their brain relax. If you have access to it, another dog,
Yes,
have a dog that knows what they're doing.
that's what, and is real controlled. But that's a fabulous one because we can't communicate. We will never be able to communicate with a dog the way another dog can, right? Like we speak their own language. They get each other. So if you have a dog that you can work with and let that other dog follow, a lot of times, boy, that light bulb just comes on and they're like, oh, this is what they want us to do. Why didn't they just say so? So that's a really, really good one. And I want to go back a little bit to what Megan said about custom. There's a lot of controversy, whatever, about using cookies and herd training. A lot of people don't believe in it. But we have a lot of situations that we use it in. There's a lot of times we don't. Lots of dogs we don't. But there's time and a place for it. And if I can use that, anything I can use, any tool I can use that helps my dog relax, understand what I want, gain confidence and skills, I'm all for it, right? Like, why is it right or wrong? If it accomplishes what you want, it's a good thing.
I think that kind of goes back to having a training philosophy, building a program around each dog, than having a program that the dog has to fit in or if they don't.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. You've got to go, okay, what does this dog need from me? Okay, here's how I usually train. Well, that's fine, but it's not working for this dog. So now what? Now I have to say, what do you need? How will I help you understand what it is I want? And if you will figure out how to help them understand, they'll do what you want. They always do. The last part of that question was if they're not
Those attitudes, or if they're destructible or not.
So, and there are some dogs that this is their giftness. Like they're on, sometimes it's not about they can be confident, they can be it's just not their thing. There are some dogs that are like that, and it would be like, you love playing piano and that's your gift and that's your passion, and then your parents wanted you to be a football player.
Wouldn't work so well.
It just wouldn't. It's just not your thing. So there are some dogs that it's just not their thing, but really often you find that once you build their confidence and once you show them, figure out a way to show them what you want, then those dogs will engage and they'll figure it out, and that's end up being really good partners.
It's also really important with dogs that keep sessions super short.
Yes, absolutely. Well, all dogs, but yeah, but especially that if they're on and happy, stop. Yeah. Because you don't want to stop when they're not, and you don't know if you can get them back to that place, and then build on that, right? You just build.
And as they get more confident, the work sessions get longer. Okay. How do you build distance on a trial dog? Example: my dog gets to the far end of the arena and at about halfway turns and looks at me when I give a command.
All right,
Very common.
it is very common, and what creates that behavior is that we build distance from the dog to put them. Okay, the dog is not confident being that far away. build that distance one step at a time. If I go 2 steps and my dog's like, that's too far, okay, sorry. Now I go 1 step. I just build it very slowly. For some dogs, that happens really quickly. Like they're like, oh, I'm good, oh, I'm good. Next thing you know.
Thank goodness we're all the way back there.
Yes, yeah, they're happy that you're back. For some dogs, it takes a long time, and it takes as long as it takes. And my job is to take as long as it takes and not push it. What happens, I think often, is we go, okay, I have my open title. Now I'm in advance. Now I have to stand back here. So we go from this to this because in our minds, we're going from open to advanced. Well, there's a whole lot of steps from here to there. So the dog's like, wait, what are you doing way back there? I can't do this on my own. I've never done it on my own. So if our dogs are not, like, let's say they gather, they start up together and they get part way and they stop, then I just move myself back too far too soon. I need to go back to the place that they're fluent. And they're like, I got it, I can gather, I can do this all day long. Great. Now I go 1 or 2 steps. Are they fluent there? Good. Okay. 1 or 2 steps. And you're going to find that spot where they're like, they're a little less confident. When they do, back up to here. Don't stay there. So we never stay where they're not confident. We go back to where they are confident, spend more time there, then do another step or 2. And just go back and just slowly put those layers in. Training takes a long time. And we will need to do that. That time's going to pass. So whether that time passes with you moving too fast or pushing things and then struggling and having to go back and fix things, or whether it passes with just doing the slow steps and putting it in correctly or not, it's going to take the same amount of time, right?
And it's more fun for you and your dog to go slower and take those steps.
Yes. And you'll end up with a more confident dog, yes, in the end, that really understands their job. Where if we get those dogs to a place where they lose confidence, they're not confident, it's hard to get that back. So training within confidence will get you further faster than letting them get them confident back up.
And then using things like space and long lines and things like that, where you can kind of give them more confidence, like our alleyway to create more distance in driving really seems to help dogs.
Yes.
Having a long line where you can go to that certain, it's easier to see where you're at distance wise if you have a long line on too. So it's, I can go to the end of this one, I can't go to the end of this one, and it keeps you in that space to be more consistent for your dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next one. As someone who doesn't have a lot of access to designated training areas, how do I use functional herding, like moving stock around in a farm setting to train for trials?
Okay, great question. And I know that our place is really set up for training dogs. That's what we do. So we have put a lot of thought into the spaces and how we have set things out. Not everybody has that, and we understand that. And I think the key. So if I'm thinking about just using my dog, right? How am I using my dog to do a chore, to do whatever? Is to think about doing it in a way that isn't just, oh, go get the sheep, bring them here, and put them in, right? Now, if I'm doing just everyday chores on an everyday farm, that's what I would do. I'd be like, yeah, go get the sheep.
Just get the job done.
Yeah, you don't really care if it's pretty, how correct it is, how, you just get them, bring them, put them in the pen. Now we're going to do the next one. If that's how I'm having to train, I'm going to think about how each of those things looks. So I'm going to say, okay, you're going to go get the sheep, bring them in. I'm going to stand here. I'm going to make sure you square up. Make sure you're nice and wide. When you get behind the sheep, I'm going to let you down. I'm going to walk the sheep. I'm going to put them in, and developing the skills for that. And then the other thing, again, I want to say, so So if you have a farm or property or whatever that you have animals and you're moving to, there are ways you can set something up. So let's, if you have a pasture and you have a corner, put up a little fence, set yourself up something small so that you can have a smaller space to work in. So try to figure out some of those things out. Pretty good.
I need to change the battery. I'm still on,
Okay.
but the camera's off.
I saw it.
The flexible ones.
You're back on.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle.
Sorry about that. Had a little technical difficulty there. The battery
Batteries.
in the camera died. So, okay, but Michelle to the rescue. So
As usual.
as always, yes. All right, did I finish that?
I think so. I don't want to do that. Are you good there?
Yeah, hopefully that helps. I know it's not ideal, and I know it's a challenge, but again, outside the box, you guys. I know some people in California that they like got together and found this property that they're leasing, and they got some geese. I think that's what happens.
I think so too.
Yeah, and they bought some geese and they set up some little pens and they have their little training area. They all went in on it so that, you know, it's not much money for anybody. It really, like, it's made all the difference. They have a place where they can practice some work. So, you know, there's usually a way to figure it out. Sometimes we just have to kind of
Get creative.
get creative or think comes around and go, okay, what could I come up with that would help me make it so that my dogs can run easier?
You don't need a ton of different spaces.
No,
You have one or two, right?
absolutely. Yeah, but
Just that where you control it.
you gotta be able to control it. You know, if you get out in those bigger areas, stock gets away, your green dog's chasing it, there's nothing you can do. And they're winning everything you don't want them to win.
Your dog's always learning.
Yes, they're always
You're
learning,
right.
whether it's what we want or not, they are always learning. And that's the point. You know, is this what I want my dog to learn? Is this what I want to repeat? Whether you're in a trial ring or whether you're just you own stock and you want your stock to be healthy and safe. You know, it's just not good stocksmanship, and it's not what we want. One thing that you can do, it's not ideal, but you could put your dog on a long line if you have dependable stock. Now you would have to have dependable stock for this, but you know, in a corner of a field or something where you could have the stock there in the corner, you could have the dog on a long line, and then you can use the two sides of your space. It's the long line to keep it up from going further out, so it creates this, and that kind of control the dog who's stuck in way. It's kind of hard to do, but it's something that we do when we're first coming out of the small areas with our dogs. It takes some skill to be able to manage to manage the long line, the pole, all things. But it is a way also to just make sure that you have control of the situation. So if things start, you know, schools fall off the bus, you have a way to stop the bus.
Emergency brake.
Emergency brake, yeah.
I think we have time for one more question and then we should wrap up.
Okay. So Michelle says we have time for one more question and then we're gonna wrap up. So what's our next question?
Awesome. What do you look for in a herding partner? How to tell what puppy is going to be the next great trial dog?
I love this
Breeder
one.
instinct test, is there value in it? How to move from picking that puppy to working with your classes the most successful way.
Wow, that's a lot. How much time do I have?
Proceed.
5 minutes or so.
I'll make it as short as possible. This
Great
is great.
question.
It's a great question. It's a fabulous question because we hear this all the time, right? You know, how do you look at this litter of 8-week-old puppies and who's going to be my next trial dog? Like, who's going to be my next big star? And you know, we do little puppy instinct tests. Yeah. But I'll be honest with you, this is how much value we put on them. like, there is no
It's fun.
value.
It's
It's fun. It's fun. It's a great experience for the puppies. I will tell you, I have seen so many puppies that were terrified of Stock at 8 weeks. Like, had nothing to do with it and ended up being really hurt. So, yes, if you see the dogs on and doing all this stuff, okay, obviously it's there. But just because it doesn't mean it's not. So it's fun. We watch it. We like see it, but we don't put a ton of weight on that. I do think that toy drive, and you're watching your little pack, who chases what's that called, the flirt pole?
Yes.
Who likes to chase the flirt pole? Who chases the tug toy? Which dogs like targeting on that? That's a big one. And any dog that wants to control movement or go after movement, I think those are things we look for. The other thing that we're really big on is we like a puppy that looks us in the eye. Pick up a puppy, I want it to look at me, not do this. Because that is a dog that wants to connect with you. And that dog will be easier to connect with and easier to have that bond and have that partnership with. I think that dogs don't become like great trial stars. We make that, right? I can't tell you how many dogs I've had in my hands that I start out, client dogs, what do you think they can do? Well, maybe they could get this, or I think, oh, this is probably what they can do. And those dogs blow me away. They accomplish so much, like over and over and over, because I believed in them, right? Just show me what you can do. Like, we'll do whatever you can do.
And there's so much power in that.
There is so much power in them. And I think whether or not that dog becomes a great trial dog has everything to do with what we believe and what we put into that dog. I think lots and lots of dogs that aren't great trial dogs put it down. Had they had the right training, the right approach, the right person to lead from, I think we create that. So I think that's super important to understand. The puppy that you feel like has that drive and the ability to do that, by then take that, so that's what you've got to start with. And what they become is really dependent on us. And what are we willing to put in? Are we willing to do the hard stuff? Train every day, be up late to train or get up early to train, and whatever that looks like, because I have that commitment. I'm willing to put that time, that effort in, so that dog can become everything.
Good relationships aren't built in the easy times, right?
No.
Built in the hard times.
Yeah, oh, it's a cute puppy. Oh, it doesn't want. Look how smart it is. It comes on a call,
And then adolescence hits.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh Lord, what have I gotten myself into? And what happened to the training? Like I trained it. What happened? And lessons can last up for like 3 years. Like it's a thing, right? So
stay the course.
Stay the course, right? And then that dog will turn into what create what they only. The only people, I always say, the only people in dogs that don't get it are the ones that quit it. Because so many people, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought I could get it. So, doing that. The other part of that was
how do you go on working with our classes in the most successful way?
So I really think starting with building connection
From the time you get your puppy.
from day one. Like we even do a lot of that stuff in our
Welcome box.
or welcome box when we're raising litters, right? Building connection. Like you want a puppy that thinks that people, that you, and playing with you and being with you, and that is the best thing on the face of the earth. That's all they want to do. They don't care about the other dogs. They don't care. They just want to be with you. When I'm home and doing stuff, my dogs, they'll play with each other, but if I get up and move, they're with me. And they'll constantly come to me going, can I heal? Getting up on their place for work, they're asking for it all the time. And that's what you want to develop, and really starting with that at young and just spending as much time as you can making sure that you're fun and you are exciting and you are engaging and that, you know, but by the time you get to sheep, you know, you can still go, hey, remember me? I'm like the cool one, and they'll still do that. That is, I think, the key to everything.
Yeah. Well, then you're building that partnership for whatever you decide to do.
Right,
Herding,
right.
and agility.
Absolutely.
Just a good event.
It will make your dog better at everything. Just, yeah, well, hiking. Like, it just makes them a good dog, and it makes them fun. It's fun for you, it's fun for them, and I think it gives them a better quality of life. But
And
yes, and us,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the reality is that we live with our dogs 99% of the time. We were the 1% if that of the time.
And that's very true, right? So, right, that is what more important. But it's all about relationship, and it's all about the teamwork and the partnership and developing that. And you develop that off of stock. It's not develop that on stock. You apply it on stock, but you develop it in your everyday life and all of the things that we talk about. Good. Anything else to add?
Not on this, but we covered arms, guys. Yeah.
We do. So, is anybody still with us?
They are.
All right.
Thanks,
all right. Good. Thanks, guys. So for those of you that are still with us, we have you're going to get 10% off of any
Single course.
Single
individual course,
Yeah.
right? All you have to do is you go in and there's a coupon code. What's the code?
And I'm gonna type it in the chat for everyone.
Okay.
Perfect.
What is it? Web 25?
Yes.
Web 25. So Michelle's going to type it into the chat for you. So if you enter that coupon code, you get 10% off of any course. If you are already a member, if you have our membership, the nice thing about the membership is you get everything. Everything we produce, the members get. Plus, there's extra bonus things that we put in there that only members get. But if you already have that, so you don't have a need for this code, please feel free to give it to a friend that might be interested or might be wanting to try a course. Give it to them. We're happy to do that. The code will be effective for 48 hours.
48 hours.
48 hours.
Yep.
So you have 48 hours to do that. After that. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you. Our very first webinar.
I know.
Okay. Have a good night.